So we all know that the '80s is a treasure trove of just amazing movies, classic cult movies, iconic movies that we all know and love, and we quote and all that good just stuff. More so than any other generation, I feel like. I feel like you can't really say the same thing about the '70s, '60s, '90s, 2000s, early 2000s anyway. Um, so with that being said, I wanted to narrow down my top five favorite movies from the '80s. This is my list, so if you don't see a movie that you want on here, it's not your list. Sorry, but let's just go ahead and start going through it. At number five, I have the Terminator, the original Terminator. Uh, Even though Judgment Day is really really good, I personally rather this one because it's just so much more raw, and there's something about the whole man versus machine aspect that's more interesting than what happens in all the other movies, where it's always in the other movies it's always about Terminators fighting other Terminators, like a good Terminator fighting an evil Terminator. But in this one there is no Terminator to come and help Reese and Sarah. It's just Reese trying to protect Sarah, and I mean she ends up saving the day herself, but there's no help from another machine. There's no fight on even ground, and it's just straight up Terminator against human ingenuity, and that's what I love about this movie. Also, Arnold. This is back when Arnold was at his prime. He was I mean, not to say the guy's not still buff, but the guy was extremely menacing looking in this movie, and it just fits. He's a perfect casting for a character like this. A cold robotic kill machine. So at number four we have Predator, which is another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Go figure, right? The guy was pretty king back this time period. So I love the Predator because it's a really solid action movie. It's a fun survival movie. I really like, but most of all, I really like villains that have a kind of an honor code. They have a system. They have like a certain, villains like Joker are fine too. Just totally chaotic, spontaneous villains. But I've always enjoyed the more, villains that let their enemies have a sporting chance. They have a certain rules that they won't break, and that's the Predator. The Predator is a hunter. He doesn't believe in unsportsman like hunting, and it wants a challenge. So it's not gonna, they have certain codes it goes by, and I really appreciate that in the movie or in the whole series. And plus, there's just so much badass quotes. I don't have time to bleed. This will make you into a sexual Tyrannosaurus Rex, or however, whatever that line is. There's just so many really good ones. And this movie is full of just badass soldiers doing badass soldier stuff. It's also a great Vietnam movie, while also being a, sci-fi science fiction action movie. You just don't get too much of that kind of genre mashing. At number three, we have Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm a big Harrison Ford fan. I've always liked the guy. I think he's a great actor. And just really does a good job of portraying the all-American kind of, grizzly, badass, manly man. And this movie is the best example of that. But he's also more than that, though. He's also an intelligent, crafty guy. He's a freaking professor, but he's also a badass. It's just something you don't see all that often. Could you imagine if your history professor or whatever was Indiana Jones in college? That would just be crazy. So, there's a lot to love about this movie. The action, the Avenger, the all the kind of callbacks to classic movie serials and classic Avenger comic book strips. You know, the aesthetic, the whole Nazi World War II setting and backdrop. There's just a lot about this movie. There's a lot of kind of magical charm to it, and it's just a fun movie. Like in great moments too. Like Indiana Jones shooting the guy with the gun is just the whole "I'm afraid of snakes" or "Damn it, why is it snakes?" It's just class. And number two, we have another Harrison Ford feature film, The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode, God dang it, 5. So yeah, this is a really good one. This is easily the best movie in the original trilogy. Probably the best movie in the whole series, honestly, if we're getting right down to it. From a story standpoint, from a pacing standpoint, it's just really, really good. It's the perfect middle part of a story too. Like it ends with such a great cliffhanger, such a kind of ominous feeling of there's no hope after the last movie that was, A New Hope. But this movie, it feels like there is, like there's so many things happen in this movie. Everything from Harrison Ford's character, being frozen in carbonite, to the introduction of Boba Fett, to the reveal about Darth Vader, to Yoda training Luke. There's just so many classic moments, iconic moments in this movie. And yeah, this is how you do the middle part of a story. It's just the perfect way to do it. And lots of movies and lots of books have actually adapted the way this plays out. You see a lot of it these days, and that's because of this movie. And finally, at number one that may not be a surefire bet for this. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't put this one at number one, but I really love this movie. I have so much nostalgia with this movie, so much memories of watching it on VHH over and over and over again. I love Michael Keaton, actually. I love Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne. I think he plays a great Bruce Wayne. Maybe not the best Batman, but he's a great Bruce Wayne. I love the socially awkward, kind of reclusive personality he brings to the character. It works well as like a kind of a camouflage for the character. People don't really think that he would be Batman, and it just plays well into what you think, what a real life Bruce Wayne would be like. I love that it's not just the everyday playboy persona that Bruce Wayne usually has in most stories. Joker's really good in this movie. Jack Nicholson does a great job portraying Joker. He can go from like menacing and calm to just wacky and comical on a dot, and it's perfect. I love the Art Deco art style of the movie, like the way everything is, looks, the buildings, the places, the way people talk and they dress. It all has a very special kind of stylized look to it, and it's great. It builds a great world in this movie. You really get a feel for what Gotham City is, and yeah, some of the action sequences are kind of clunky, especially with Batman's suit being so, limiting with movements, and so some of the fight scenes don't look as great, and some of the stuff doesn't hold up as well. But this is still a classic movie, and it's just really enjoyable. It has a really good climax to it, and it's just, it's definitely my favorite superhero movie, especially a movie of this era. It's always one I go back to all the time. So let me know in the comments, guys, what are some 80s movies that you would rank as your top 5? What would be your number one 80s movie? Let me know. See you guys later.